Hi Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising, welcome to Ethernal Realms. In this video we will take a look at how this new moon solar eclipse in your zodiac going to impact you. What is it bringing? Because solar eclipses and even lunar eclipses actually of any type, whether they are partial or total or hybrid, they bring about major changes. They create some fateful closures in areas of life that have that the eclipse is happening in order to bring further regeneration and growth. So in your case, this one is taking place at the very last decrees, also known as the anaretic decrees, because it's at 29. It's almost about to move into Taurus. The moon as well as the sun, it's on the brink of a new zodiac season. This is taking place on the 20th of April, 2023. And yes, right after, seriously, like 8 minutes after the eclipse itself happens, the moon moves into Taurus. So there is definitely a carryover energy of everything that you feel into your second house of finances or your feeling of self-worth and identity. Okay, so this can be like shared resources that you have with someone, and also your personal money. It can be about loans and investments and how you deal with those certain responsibilities, the life choices that you're making, the personality changes that are happening, and how that impacts the type of people you attract, the types of relationships that you form, and the current relationships that you're in. There can be a certain change that happens in yourself that creates a different dynamic within relationships, basically. So there's like a lot of this theme going to take place throughout this year. We have one or two more eclipses in Taurus, Scorpio, but it has a completely different flavor compared to last year. So mostly the focus is going to be between you and your partnership houses. Okay, so this one is taking place in your personality house, and when it is in the 29th degree, it really is talking about letting go of something. Okay, so every zodiac is going to deal with this in whichever house that Aries is landing. So regardless of whether you're watching for your sun, moon or rising sign, just take a look at your own rising chart and see where Aries lands, and that is the area where there is some closure taking place here. So let's see your cards and discover more of what is going on. Actually, I kind of wanted to have the Astro dice first. I don't know, I'm just feeling drawn. I usually do this at the very end, but okay. For Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising, how is this eclipse treating them? What is going on in this time for them? And by the way, eclipses have a way of playing out over a period of 6 months. At that time, like, everything is done and dusted. There are no new developments pertaining to this particular eclipse. But usually, from what I've seen, things already start drastically shifting, or like movements happen around 3rd or the 4th month from whenever the eclipse happens. Okay, so Venus in the first house in Taurus. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. There are some developments that will happen in your Taurian house. If you're struggling with something, that struggle is going to end. If you are looking for certain resources and you've been striving for a while, that is going to come through. It can also be you creating your own resources. It can be a time where you're like, that's it, I'm done with this, okay? I'm not putting up with this, I'm not doing this anymore. Whether it is a certain habit you have, or it can be material in a sense as well. But you put your foot down and you're like, nope, this is not happening. I actually want something different. I want something more fulfilling, things like that. And you kind of take on that initiative role, which you're very well known for, and you make that happen, basically. Venus in Taurus is such a wonderful combination, because that brings in financial resources and other material assets that can bring you greater amount of fulfillment and security as well. So I think this is a rise in self-worth, and also the relationships that you form as a result of that. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here, and let's see your cards. We have Hanuman coming up first, and this is the god of strength and courage. Okay, but once again, you're known for all this. So it's as though you are being given an extra boost of motivation through this eclipse, and you are basically going forward and doing the things that make you uncomfortable in order to create a greater amount of stability for you. You also have greater amount of resilience and perseverance. So if you really have a will, you have a way. It's kind of that. And also this deity symbolizes protection, cosmic protection as well. So that's really useful, right? During times of great changes, it's always nice to have some more support, a little bit extra help. So yes, you definitely have that going on, but also it indicates that you are more than capable of protecting yourself and your own. So obviously it's not saying that, lean back, relax, we got this. You still have to do your part, but the things that are beyond your control are definitely being carved in a way that they work out favorably for you. Next, we have Kundalini, which is, wow, this is magnanimous. It talks about the inner serpent opening up and rising, leading to a spiritual awakening of sorts. If you're already on a spiritual journey and you deal with like cleansing and self-healing, balancing, things like that, then this can be a very, very pivotal time where you really unlock your inner power. That's basically what Kundalini describes, is that you are discovering and implementing, utilizing your personal power. You can see all of the chakras over here in the image with these circles. So it can be that, your chakras are being balanced or they're being opened and so on. By the way, I had made a video on there was like what was that? The 7 chakra checkup. Yes, that it was a checkup and kind of seeing how each one is doing. I had made a pick a card version of that a while back. If I remember afterwards, I'm going to link the video, but even if not, you can just search on my channel 7 chakra checkup, and yeah, it will walk you through it. You can pick your pile and then see how each of your chakra is doing, because what happens is when something is like really blocked, it can when like these eclipses happen and they are encouraging the opening of the chakras or the balancing of it or detoxification of them, it can sometimes come out in a harsh way, especially if we are resistant to it. So if we don't know what each of these means, how can we know if we are resistant or not resistant or any of those adjectives, right? So yeah, you can check that out, or you can even search online about what each of these chakras mean and what the qualities are of those things. There are many websites that can walk you through it, and you just get an overall idea of whether something is severely blocked or not, because when you know that, you can kind of open up and let the thing happen, or you can work on balancing it before the eclipse itself, so it's not that harsh in any way, if that is something that you might worry about. But either way, there is an opening, detoxification, purification, balancing, and healing that is taking place through this eclipse for you. Okay, I'm kind of hearing much needed. This is much needed. It revitalizes you, kind of fills you up with life force, life energy, and that's kind of what you symbolize, the kinetic and constantly moving creative force of fire. So really strong, really strong. Wow. Not expecting this. Okay, then we have Lilith coming through, which is raw, primal, subconscious, and repressions. Yeah, so if there are certain things hidden and you're trying to keep it suppressed and hidden, that might not work around this time. Facing your fears, owning them, and being in charge of them, that's kind of what I'm getting here. With Hanuman, you don't have fears anymore. This deity just does not get afraid in the face of fear. He just goes forward and is like, okay, well, I have all the skills that I need to get through this, so what's the point of fear anyway? And he just deals with whatever comes. So in essence, there is no obstacle, basically. So I feel with the Lilith, you're discovering that raw and primal, endless source of life that you have within you. And that being unlocked is balancing you in such a way that you are not beat down by life in any way. Okay, you're more capable of dealing with disappointments or criticism in any way. You can take more initiative in the directions that you find fulfilling. And initiative does not have to be just, how many jobs you apply for, or, what salary you're making, or whatever it is, right? None of that needs to be a metric, because initiative needs to take place more in your feeling center around this time. Your ruler Mars is in Cancer, and Venus as well came up here, right? All of this is about what brings you joy and fulfillment. Are you making yourself a priority? Where are the places where you're not doing so? Where are the spaces where you've kind of given up on certain things, or you have kind of suppressed your own desires to the point where you don't even know what you want? You know, things of that sort can come up here, and that's what is going to be more important, more focus for this particular eclipse. Okay, so in what way is the change happening is not really the masculine force, although that is something you already are, but I think you're including the feminine force over here and empowering the feminine force within a lot more through this eclipse. Wow. Then we have the midheaven, which symbolizes individuality, your career, goals, and public life. And this is basically your reputation, and also how just the general populace kind of sees you as well. So this can impact the personality that you're becoming, can have a direct impact to your career life, or just the space you are, as in the lifestyle you might have, or the place that you live in, or it can be just the designation you have in life. For example, you're single and then you get married, or vice versa, whichever situation fits for you. It can be, you know, taking on a different role or a different job and so on, which can bring about this particular change. But whichever it is starting from you, okay? It's not something that is just going on its own. Not really, it doesn't feel like that. But it definitely is beginning from you, and it has an impact on your career life. Okay. Then we have the 8th house, which really symbolizes that detoxification and transformation. We were talking about Scorpio sits here. So, you know, this can talk about that subconscious mind coming up and letting go of certain conditioning or past beliefs that are inhibiting you actually. This is also where our shadows are. So the talents that we were asked to forego when we were younger or through life, based on how we were raised and what our surroundings were, but which kind of denied our natural gifts, right? That's where the shadow, that's basically what the shadow is. It includes our fears and insecurities, because we're not sure if we're good enough or if it will be received well enough if we express it. So those things can come up, and again, that is corresponding with the suppressions and repressions. So yes, if there is resistance, this becomes painful. If there is not, it is extremely intimate and extremely empowering. I cannot undersell it. Like I cannot oversell it. It just is that empowering. Okay, that's it. So transformation, absolutely. And with the Kundalini here, it's giving me real like Phoenix vibes. It feels as though you're shedding that one layer and one skin. You're done with one cycle of life completely, and you're ready to begin a completely new one here. Okay. Wow. All right. Then we have the 11th house, which is about your friend circle, the groups that you connect with, the communities that you identify with, your attitude towards humanity. Perhaps you have a public persona, and this is where you might be interacting more with your community over there, or you're expanding in some way. There can be a different community that you're joining. In some regard, for example, if you're not so much into spirituality, you might become so, or if you are more into the spirituality, you might decide to ground yourself with something more physical. Okay, but there is a transformation in your aspirations as well. What you see in your future can be a little bit different beyond this point. But once again, you are deciding all this, so yes, but definitely there's like more internal things that are being stirred up that's creating this overall shift, basically. Okay, then we have the Hanged one. Yes, very strong. This one is a Piscean card, and connects with the water element. We definitely are seeing a theme over here. Plenty of subconscious, deep waters, Scorpio, Cancer kind of vibe going on. But the Hangman talks about seeing things from a completely different perspective. There can be a time of pause here where you are by yourself, okay? And that being by yourself without, other engagements going on, you might really reflect on something. It's generally an introspecting, reflective time, and you're learning a great deal about yourself. like I said, there can be an awakening here. If you're already on that path, expect one, you know, or there is an epiphany that comes through that just changes your world completely. The Hanged One is as well like a symbol for awakening. It's that realization of like, oh, I never saw it this way, you know. So that's the kind of different perspective here. It can also talk about flipping your attention. So where do you put your maximum focus on? For example, if you're more go-getting, you're action taking initiative and all of that, basically what Aries symbolizes, this can be a time where you're focusing on letting go, going with the flow, and taking initiative when, you know, is required. And while that may feel you know, non-characteristic to your original nature, this is also bringing you a lot of benefits, and it feels like you can already see the benefits here. For example, you take more rest, you know, and you prioritize your bedroom, how you feel there, how you sleep, you know, the furnishing that you have, or, you know, the quality of sleep that you get overall, or spending a little bit more time introspecting and meditating on purpose, right? That purpose is still Aries, but you're utilizing that in a way that brings you comfort and relaxation, right? And that itself has a huge transformation onto you. Your intuition is getting sharpened in some way. With the 8th house, 11th house, again, if you're a little bit more on the spiritual path, then this can be that you get glimpses of your future quite literally. Okay, and it can feel a little bit strange, but yeah, there can be some glimpses here. For example, randomly you're like, you know what, I think in 5 years I'm going to be over there, or this is what I will be doing. And it is still, of course, based on what you're doing now and the changes that you're anticipating, but it might still catch you a little bit off guard because the glimpse looks very, very real, so kind of like a premonition, okay? All right, then we have Death with Scorpio. Yeah, we did see that. Scorpionic energy, absolute transformation, and Phoenix energy. So you're being born again. There is an old part of you that, you know, it's time for it to go. Speaking of all the Scorpio, Pluto is a part of this whole scene of the entire eclipse. And Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So yeah, the eclipse is squaring with Pluto, and Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius at this time. All right, so yeah, that itself talks about huge new beginning, which might be a little bit uncomfortable, or you might not really know, like, how do you actually make the change? Like, how do you implement it? The aha moment has happened, but, you know, how do you put that into motion? How do you translate the inner changes that are happening to the outside world? Because if we don't do that, there's like an immediate dissonance that we notice in the outside world and in the inner world. For example, let's say you went through an awakening around this time, you know, when you walk outside and there is like a lot of traffic and a lot of dust and a lot of people, and everybody is kind of, because you are different, that same thing doesn't make sense anymore, or it's just not a fit. Okay, like it can make sense, but it just doesn't work with you anymore, you know? I don't know how to explain it. I guess yeah, you'll see when you see, if you haven't already. So yes, Death is, and the Hangman is very rich, very strong, talking about your whole life kind of being changing here. It obviously is changing to make way for more growth, okay? And like I said, you are kind of a pivot point over here, right? I feel like a lot of this is going to be driven by your own intentions. We do have the 1st house here. So yeah, personality changes, ambitions and goals might change over here as well. Yeah, I'm not really getting like surprising, shocking, spontaneous type of vibe. It's more going to just play out. Like I said, it's an internal thing. So yeah, it's going to then translate into the outer world. Give it some time. Have some patience in the moment. Just absorb whatever is happening, basically. Then we have 10 of Swords with Sun and Gemini with Ruin. Okay, so the final closure of certain lessons or cycles can take place during Gemini season. Okay, but not necessary. Sun in Gemini can also talk about your communication and the surroundings, your environment that you're in. You might move your locality, for example, and now you're surrounded by new people. You have new neighbors or new roommates, depending on what stage of life you're in. And also, this can be just the thought pattern that you have. If you have sabotaging beliefs, you're going to stop that. Okay, you're tired of sabotaging yourself, and now you gotta end it. You're tired of going through the same people with the same procedures of wherever you stay or, you know, work in. So now you're just done with it. It's that kind of card. I'm just done with that. Okay, so there is a level of tiredness in this, but the end is for the good, and there is a sort of relief that finally it's over. Okay, so whatever has been stagnant at this time is going to go through a major overhaul. Next, we have the Two of Cups with Venus in Cancer, which is so lovely. It indicates partnership and friendships as well. So any type of intimate bonds that we're talking about is part of Two of Cups. Also, it indicates greater harmony and blessings in the home front. So yes, some of you might find the dream home, for example, or in an ideal living situation. You might form better connections with your family members or people you call or consider family. Yes, there is greater synchronicity and alignment with the universe as well. Yeah, this is, wow. Not surprising. Last year we had Taurus, Scorpio eclipses. So for Taurus and Scorpio, it was usually a very big reading, and with a lot of things going on here. So yes, absolutely is impacting your partnership life. Can also indicate 8th house, can also talk about your intimacy, your intimate life. You can, you know, meet someone casually, but then you form a closer bond, and you know, there is a transformation within that relationship. It can also be that that person is very transformative for you. You can gather a lot of help from them, and yeah, you absolutely appreciate and value this person. And I think there is a greater level of vulnerability as well that is going on in this relationship. It has a chance for staying a little bit longer. So yeah, if you're looking for a partner that you want to be serious with, then this can be a time that you can utilize this energy to manifest that. But like I said, Two of Cups is not only about soulmate and all of that, it's also just the harmony that you experience through life. Okay, and now it is your choice how you want to utilize it, and you know, where you want to really focus that energy. Okay, then we have the Queen of Wands here, which is so wonderful. This is a fire card. That's your suit. So that perfectly fits you. It indicates that boost of courage and confidence. You are more social. I think you're more magnetic over here as well. The North Node in your zodiac indicates that, you know, you are easily shining. You know, people are taking notice very effortlessly. You don't really have to do too much. All you have to do is be you and keep discovering yourself. I think that's what you're more focused on, but as a byproduct, you're getting a lot of attention as well. Queen of Wands can indicate you're switching up your appearance. Okay, you want to feel more like you. Perhaps many times it happens when the North Node is switching, kind of traveling through your first house, that you bring in new clothes, switch up your wardrobe, or change up your hair, or something else, you know, the body language that you have, or the environments that you take yourself, and hence the confidence levels it has as well. So yes, easily noticeable, very charming, and Queen of Wands is also very independent and courageous as well. So that fieriness plus the watery nature of compassion and flow is a very powerful combo over here. This card alone indicates the harmonious combination of the divine feminine and masculine elements here. If you want to set up your own business as well, you're feeling empowered to do that. There can be some performing arts or artistic abilities you want to employ here. Perhaps certain things were going on, and now that is coming to a close, and you feel even more in alignment. Okay, so even if this process of purging and detoxification feels a little bit unpleasant, it's really shifting you out of past resistances. There is like nothing holding you back beyond this point, and the more you work with it, the easier it gets. The more you resist, the more painful it gets. That's just kind of the philosophy. All right, Queen of Wands also indicates that you can manifest very easily. Yeah, with Venus and Taurus as well. Yeah, you can manifest success, glory, beauty, whatever it is that is of a priority for you. Perhaps not on the day of the eclipse because it has a little bit of chaos energy. And as the name suggests, you don't really know how it's going to go. And perhaps when you get it, you might not really want it. So maybe not manifest on this particular day, but, you know, later on, give it some time, like at least a week or so, preferably 2 weeks. That's when you can manifest these things. But even more ideal is to have an idea of what exactly you want. Like when you envision your own future at this time, like what would you like to have more of in this upcoming times for the coming 6 months. And kind of to set the intention early on would be a better idea than later on, I suppose. Okay. For some reason, I'm getting that as an intuition. All right, let's see one more message for Aries, please. Jupiter, Leo, and the 9th house. Yep. You definitely have big protection from the universe. You might be asking some big questions, wondering about life, your reality, and the perspective you have been living in, and so on. And I think you're feeling a lot more secure in what you're cultivating. There can also be a moment where you're giving thanks for all the blessings that you have experienced already, and you're kind of manifesting or looking forward for more as well. Leo, again, is being very noticeable. 9th house can be if you're in a field of law or travel, even like spirituality, religion, things like that. Anything which is basically addressing a larger populace and is a kind of more objective viewpoint, those professions would be doing quite well. But this also indicates that you have a lot of creative force and you're able to channel the divine to make something creative. So it can be, literally arts, but you're doing that with a much bigger perspective instead of more theoretical concepts, basically. This can also indicate that you are in a position to teach or guide, but for some of you it can be that you're changing your title from an employee to a student or vice versa. So you're exiting and graduating from your college, and now you are ready to take on the world, basically, right? So there are some big changes going on. Obviously, status changes are going to impact your individuality and vice versa as well. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to keep in mind. I wish you all the very best. I'm sure this is going to be super transformative. Let me know your thoughts. I hope the reading helped you out and gave you some more insights. I will speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.